So, the story starts here. This is me and my grandparents. My brother's in the photo too, but he's not really part of this, so just kind of ignore him. And so I was sitting in class one day when Fisher explained a new project, telling a family story. And after a moment, I knew exactly who to do it on, my great grandma McElwain. So I put on my investigative journalist hat, did some research real quick, and started my journey on finding the truth. I didn't let anyone stand in my way. I knew the first place to start was interviewing my grandparents because they know a lot about my great grandmother. So I started the trek. I drove myself straight to the airport, flew to Oregon, and when I got to their house, they were not there. So I got back on a plane and flew back home. So I called my grandma and I said, "Hey, Grandma, where are you?" She said, "I'm on vacation, but do you want to FaceTime?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so the story begins.
She was the first woman judge on the municipal court and the common pleas court in Lucas County, Ohio. So that's northwestern Ohio. Um, she was really very careful about separating her work life and her home life. So at home, she was not a judge; she was just a mother. And at work, she had certainly the professional um, judge part. So it was, it really didn't. She worked really hard to keep those two lives separate, but it didn't really affect you, and it didn't affect their friends really. To her, to all our friends that would come out and stay at the cottage or come over, she was just Mrs. McElwain. She was never the judge, and so she was always, cooking for us and doing all the things that are really nice that moms do. I always felt, looking at her example and looking at the work she did, and also what went on in our house and conversations, I pretty much thought that I could do anything I wanted to do, as far as the career or as far as in the future. That women, could do whatever you wanted. You just had to decide what it was that you wanted, and that would be fine. And I was older before I realized that everybody didn't feel that way. But that's kind of how we were brought up. That if you want something, you can work for it and you can get it. So I think it influenced how you thought about life that way. We didn't see the same impediments that maybe other people did to what they wanted to do. I think she had a very strong personality, and was extremely smart. So she didn't pay much attention to anybody who said that you couldn't do this or you couldn't do that. She just was very good at what she did, and so she earned the respect of those around her. And that um, I think that helped in not being discriminated against. And she worked for her uncle for a while, who was a lawyer, and she told him that she wanted to study law and go into law. And he said, "Oh, women don't do that." And so that was about all she needed to know, that for sure that's what she was going to do. She would show him, and she did. So,
Explain that.
well, and it was, sometimes there's a ballot where people have their names on it, but you also could do a write-in. This was both candidates that were running were both write-ins, so there wasn't any name on the ballot at all for that position. So it was unusual, and Grandpa and I were talking about it. Don't really know why it was a write-in. I think it must have been she was appointed to fill out somebody else's term on the Common Pleas bench, and then when it was time for the election, it must have been too soon in order to get names on the ballot. So yeah, the write-in was a big deal, and there was a lot of campaigning. There was a lot of. I remember sitting around the dining room table with a lot of other people, and stuffing envelopes and mailing out campaign flyers and putting up posters. I think we had talked about a little bit. Her name was Geraldine McElwain, which is not a very easy name to write in. And she was running against somebody who had a much shorter name, but they did come up with a very catchy kind of slogan, and that's also, I think, on maybe the poster, one of the pictures that you have, and it was, write the X, then write the name, X.G. McElwain. And she actually won, I don't know what the margin was, but she won comfortably, and not only for write-in and being a woman, it was pretty exciting.